The number 3 pick for Matthew Stafford, man, they better hang up the phone. Matthew Stafford and New York Giants talk has become more real day by day. It started off as a narrative that we've seen on Twitter. Then it started being pushed by Malik Neighbors on Twitter and also on interviews during the Super Bowl week. You've seen him talking about Matthew Stafford wanting a veteran quarterback and making it known, hey, get Matthew Stafford. And for a day, it was about Cooper Kupp as well. But the main focal topic is going to be Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford is 37 years old at this point. And right now it's being talked about on ESPN by head, media personnel. You got even Dan Duggan making comments, Daniel Jeremiah, Adam Schefter. You have people talking about this on the national media stage. And do I think this trade will happen? I mean, it's generating a lot more smoke than I thought it was going to. I would be shocked to see the Giants actually make this trade, but especially including the number 3 overall pick. I mean, yesterday they had Colin Cowherd, talking about the trade. I'll play the little clip.
Meanwhile, the Giants do not like the quarterback class, so they are going to make a move, I believe, on Matt Stafford. What the Rams want, I'm told, they want the Giants' first-round pick at number 3.
Listen, Matthew Stafford is a top quarterback in this league still to this day, but the guy is 37 years old, and he considered retiring a couple times already. There's no reason for the Giants to be thinking about trading that number 3 overall pick for Matthew Stafford. Even if you're throwing in a Cooper Kupp, I'm not taking that for the number 3 overall pick. And I know what this team has been. I know what we're used to. Getting Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp on this team would make this team, a lot better offensively at the moment. Hoping that everyone stays healthy, hoping that everything stays in place, and hoping that the offensive line can block. But that's a narrative I'm not even going to talk about on this video. Overall, when you think about the Giants trading the number 3 overall pick, you got to remember what they're kind of, selecting with that number 3 overall pick currently. You're taking either one of the best players in the draft in an Abdul Carter or a Travis Hunter, or you're taking one of the quarterbacks that are available, Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. Those are pretty much the picks in play at number 3 overall. And when you think about what that's worth, listen, a 37-year-old aging quarterback is not worth that pick. I know everyone is on board for Matthew Stafford being on this team for the most part. And listen, I am too. I'm a fan of Matthew Stafford. When you see what he did last year, and especially considering that game against the Eagles, look at it. They were one drive away from actually beating the Eagles, and I think they should have, but Jalen Carter definitely wrecked that whole game. But Matthew Stafford has been a top quarterback for some time now. He's been kind of underrated for the most part of his career, especially playing in Detroit. But when you think about what he's done ever since he stepped in with the Rams, he already has a ring under his belt. Matthew Stafford is a top quarterback, and there's no denying that. And would I want him on this team? I think he's the best option, like via free agency / making a trade. He's the best option that's on the table, like literally on the table. But when you think about what we're going to have to pay him if we were to make that trade happen, for everyone that's not aware, he is under contract still, but he's looking to get more guaranteed dollars in his contract because the guarantee money is up. And next year's cap hit is around $50 million. Does a Giants team like this need to be paying a quarterback that's going to be $50 million? Especially considering most likely you're going to see this team draft a quarterback. I don't think any of the Matthew Stafford plans this year changes the plans of getting a quarterback in this draft. I know Colin Cowherd is on record and saying that the Giants don't like this quarterback class. That's what everybody's saying. I'm not being moved by that. You see everyone talking about they don't like this quarterback class, but I guarantee you're going to see those quarterbacks fall in the top 5, top 6. If nobody was a fan of this quarterback class, you wouldn't see that type of thing happen. When you look at other quarterback classes like Kenny Pickett's, you see guys fall. You're not going to see that with Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. Maybe it's out of necessity, but overall, everyone's going to say that they're not in love with these quarterbacks, but I promise you there's going to be some teams taking them. Now, I know some people on this fan base specifically don't want us to take either of these guys. Some of us don't want to take Shedeur. Some of us think Cam Ward is going to be a bust. Listen, I think this team's going to end up drafting one of those quarterbacks regardless if Matthew Stafford's on this team or not. But when you think about what type of compensation you're going to have to give up, and not only give up, you're going to have to pay, I just don't see Matthew Stafford being worth that number 3 overall pick. And I'm sure you guys agree with me. If you don't, let me know down in the comments, man. Would you give up the number 3 overall pick for Matthew Stafford? Because if it's me, I'm definitely not making that move. I'm sorry. I'm not. And I know what Matthew Stafford can do for this team. Can he really go above the offensive line and kind of change a lot of the bad culture things that we have in this locker room? You would hope he can do that. but for the number 3 overall pick, we're not making it happen. For the Rams' sake, right? When you look at what they're doing and why this even is a point of topic with trading Matthew Stafford, they announced that they're going to trade Cooper Kupp. They spoke to Cooper Kupp and said they're going to have to get him on a better, team, a better situation, trying to get him, in the playoffs. But also he has a high cap hit for a player that doesn't stay healthy. We know what that's been for a couple of players that used to play for us. Cooper Kupp has not stayed healthy for a very long time now, and that is leading to him being a trade candidate. And I don't think it's gonna be a possibility of him being traded. They already announced it, and he announced it on a via IG post. He's gonna get traded. And when you look at Matthew Stafford and the type of connection he had with Cooper Kupp, I'm sure he's not too happy. I mean, his wife is on record online for putting that out there. That's definitely stirring the pot a bit, and that's what's kind of leading to this talk right now about him being traded. But for a Rams fan, you don't want to move off of Matthew Stafford. This team was literally one game away from the NFC Championship. You don't want to move off of Matthew Stafford. And looking beyond that, what is Matthew Stafford worth? He might be worth a little bit more than you actually get. Once again, being on record, you got to pay him for 2 years if you do trade for him. And there is a dead cap hit in that second year if you play him for 1 year and cut him. Can you be a situation where you pay a guy $20-something million and still bring in a rookie quarterback and hope? He has to play after the first year. You can't hold him off for multiple years. I actually talked about this with Vocal Vike. Shout out to Vocal Vike, man, with the whole J.J. McCarthy and Sam Darnold situation. Sam Darnold balled out. But you have your rookie quarterback there. It don't matter what Matthew Stafford comes in here and does for that first year. Are you really willing to hold off your rookie quarterback for 2 years? And in 1 year, you're going to have to make a decision on if you want to pick up his 5th year? That's not a recipe for success. That's not a recipe I don't think the Giants should follow. We look at it for the Vikings' sake. I don't think they're going to follow that. And Sam Darnold gave him 14 wins. What would Matthew Stafford do to secure another year for this New York Giants team if he was to be here? Probably win the Super Bowl or make it to the playoffs, NFC Championship, something crazy. And right now, this roster does not look like it's built for that. But I will say, thinking about Matthew Stafford pairing up with Malik Neighbors and other targets that are going to be on the field, I think it would work so well with this team. And even thinking about putting a rookie quarterback behind him, sign me up. But for the number 3 overall pick, I'm not doing it. If you were to ask me, what do I think can happen to make a trade like this happen, I'm probably thinking about like a 3rd-round pick. Maybe a 3rd-round pick this year, a 2nd-round pick next year, or vice versa. One of those two. I mean, our 2nd-round pick this year is extremely valuable. I mean, when you think about it, we're going to be the second-round pick in this class. Man, I really don't want to part ways with that either. We have so many holes that you got to imagine we got to fill them somehow. And the number 2, our 2nd-round pick, is valuable. So I'm thinking like a 3rd-round pick. And if they don't want to make things like that happen, a 3rd-round pick this year, a 2nd-round pick this next year, and we cut ties, man. It is what it is. I know a lot of people are extremely close to the situation because they want a Matthew Stafford in this building. They want a culture change. They want a top quarterback. I understand all of those things, but you got to be realistic and what the future is for this team. Can Joe Shane say, hey, who cares about the future? I'm not going to be here next year, or there's a chance I'm not here next year. I need to win now and makes this move? There's a world where that happens. But I will say Joe Shane, his trades have been very calculated ever since he stepped in as a GM for the New York Giants. I feel like the trades are one of his best attributes at the moment. So I don't expect him to overpay for Matthew Stafford. He hasn't really overpaid when it came to any prospect so far or any NFL player. So I don't expect him to sell the farm for Matthew Stafford. I don't expect him to sell that number 3 overall pick for Matthew Stafford. And the smoke with not loving the quarterback, yeah, I don't buy that either. I think Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, if you were to ask me what's more likely, they're going to be one of the quarterbacks on this team entering next year for sure. So I want you guys to know. Let me know down below, man, what's your thoughts on this overall. Would you make that trade for Matthew Stafford? And if you wouldn't for the number 3 overall pick, what would get it done? And if a couple more reporters go on national television talking about it, yeah, we're gonna keep talking about it as well. Believe that.